authorities and designed to enforce and sustain repressive and misogynistic ideology. We strongly condemn these practices that may amount to crimes against humanity. We are deeply saddened to hear about the lack of legal and institutional frameworks and protection mechanisms for women and girls, and especially victims of sexual and gender-based violence. They are left without any support and often forced to return to their abusers. Croatia calls on the de facto authorities to abide by the obligations under the CEDAW and the CRC, to which Afghanistan is a party. We also strongly condemn the reinstation of corporal punishment, including public flogging and executions, and urge de facto authorities to introduce an immediate moratorium on the death penalty and with a view to its abolition. Mr. Special Rapporteur, how can the international community ensure the representative, equal and safe participation of Afghan women in all discussions concerning the country's future? I thank you.
Merci.
Thank you. I give the floor to the distinguished representative of Luxembourg. Thank you, Mr. President. Luxembourg aligns with the statement by the European Union. We thank the Deputy High Commissioner for the introduction and the Special Rapporteur for the presentation of his report, as well as all of the panelists for their contributions. We pay tribute to the Afghan women present in this room and on our screens, whose voices have been reduced to silence in their own country. However, without them, there can be no peace or sustainable development in Afghanistan. The human rights situation in Afghanistan remains extremely concerning. Luxembourg condemns widespread human rights violations, especially the systematic persecution of Afghan women and girls, which is persecuted as a crime against humanity under the Rome Statute. Luxembourg reaffirms its support for the international criminal justice system. It reaffirmed this by aligning with the referral of the situation in Afghanistan to the ICC alongside 5 other states. We call on the Taliban to abide by obligations from international conventions to which the country is party. We also call for the protection of minority members, including ethnic and religious minorities, as well as LGBTI persons. Mr. Special Rapporteur, Luxembourg supports your recommendation 111A on establishing a comprehensive accountability mechanism. We are convinced that the gravity of the situation requires a firmer response from the international community, which should open the way for accountability for the Afghan people. Thank you. Thank you, and I give the floor to the distinguished representative of Italy.
Monsieur le Président, distinguished Deputy Commissioner, Italy aligned itself with the EU statement and thanks the Special Rapporteur for his report. We are appalled by the ongoing deterioration of the human rights situation in Afghanistan, particularly the systematic and the institutionalized oppression of women and girls. They continue to face unacceptable restrictions on their rights and freedoms, including the dismantling of legal protections, exclusion from public life, and imposition of discriminatory practices. While underscoring the need for justice and accountability, Italy notes with concern the assessment that such systematic oppression may amount to a gender persecution, a crime against humanity under the Rome Statute to which Afghanistan is a party. We are also deeply concerned about the situation of children deprived of basic rights and services, and of women and girls from minorities and marginalized groups. Italy remains steadfast in its commitment to addressing this dire human rights situation. In that regard, Mr. Special Rapporteur, how can the international community most effectively support Afghan women and girls and promote tangible improvements in their full enjoyment of human rights? I thank you.
Merci.
Thank you. I give the floor to the distinguished representative of Pakistan.
Mr. President, Pakistan thanks the Deputy High Commissioner and the Special Rapporteur for their presentations. While taking note of the Special Rapporteur's report, we reiterate our repeated concerns regarding the humanitarian crisis and ongoing human rights violations in the country. Pakistan maintains a clear stance on the importance of safeguarding and advancing human rights for all, with particular emphasis on the rights of women and girls. We acknowledge the Special Rapporteur's concerns over the exclusion of women from the Afghan judicial system and its negative impact on the enjoyment of human rights by the people of Afghanistan, especially women and girls. We underline that women empowerment remains vital for holistic socio-economic development of any society, and that the interim authorities in Afghanistan must fulfill their obligations under international law in this regard. Earlier this year, Pakistan organized an international conference focused on girls' education, reaffirming it as a fundamental right in line with Islamic teachings and international human rights law. Mr. President, Pakistan has hosted Afghan people with unmatched hospitality and warmth. However, terrorism originating from within Afghanistan continues to pose a significant threat to both our nation and the broader region. Regrettably, the TTP, Fitna al-Khawarij, continues to target innocent civilians in Pakistan, thereby threatening our citizens and undermining their human rights. We therefore urge the Afghan interim authorities to honour their commitments under international law and the Doha Agreement and ensure that Afghan territory is not used for terrorist activities against neighbouring countries. A stable and peaceful Afghanistan is essential for peace and development of the entire region.
Thank you. I give the floor to the distinguished representative of Australia.
Thank you, President. We thank the Special Rapporteur for his latest report and all panellists for their contributions. The situation in Afghanistan is disturbing. The Taliban has effectively erased women and girls from public life, denying access to education, employment and freedom of movement. Australia is deeply concerned by your findings that the Taliban's institutionalised system of discrimination, oppression and domination amounts to crimes against humanity. Survivors of violence, particularly women and girls, have no recourse to fair or independent legal remedies, legal representation or protection mechanisms, allowing perpetrators of violence to act with impunity. Australia is deeply committed to supporting accountability for human rights abuses and violations in Afghanistan. In 2024, Australia joined with Canada, Germany and the Netherlands to invoke Afghanistan's responsibility under international law for violations of the rights of women and girls, a global first for action of this kind. We call on Afghanistan to comply with its obligations under international law and end its systemic campaign of gender-based discrimination, segregation and violence against women and girls. What more can the international community do to ensure accountability for the Taliban's actions? Thank you.
Merci, je donne la parole.
Thank you, and I give the floor to the distinguished representative of Kuwait.
شكرا سيد الرئيس.
Thank you, President. The delegation of Kuwait has read the report of the Special Rapporteur on human rights in Afghanistan. My delegation is deeply concerned at the ongoing deterioration of the situation in Afghanistan. There are severe restrictions imposed on women and girls, including depriving them of education, jobs and participation in public life. This is on top of suffering that has been endured by the Afghan people due to humanitarian and economic crises. The human rights situation in Afghanistan will require a comprehensive approach based on respect for the rule of law and participation by all segments of society, especially women and girls, in the development process. In this regard, my delegation will continue to support the Afghan people, and this is part of our constant efforts to mitigate their suffering and improve living conditions in key sectors such as education, health and nutrition. Finally, we call for collective international action to promote independent action of the OHCHR in Afghanistan. We must urge the de facto